Mr. President, honourable members, I'm grateful for this fruitful debate, and I think many of you have underlined rightly the urgency and the determination that we have to show in addressing this problem. I would like also to thank Commissioner Andor for the dynamism with which he is pushing his initiatives. But let me also remind to this House that the scope of EU-level action is relatively limited, and initiatives are mainly focusing on coordination, fostering new initiatives and supporting financing mechanisms. So the Council gives guidelines to the Member States and strongly encourages them to take measures to tackle youth unemployment, and in addition the social partners have a crucial role to play in the set-up of new opportunities for young job seekers. We never pretended that the youth initiative or youth guarantee can be the solution on its own. Youth initiative is seed money to help spur national initiatives. For the Council, I can assure you that the Greek Presidency will make every effort to contribute to reinforcing EU policies in this area, and I am sure that future presidencies will continue to ensure that appropriate emphasis is placed on addressing this challenge. The issue of unemployment, and especially youth unemployment, will certainly be at the heart of the electorate campaign for the European elections, and most of you, of whatever political background, will have to devote a lot of effort to contribute to this difficult debate. Let me conclude by referring to what I said in my first intervention. Employment policy cannot alone reverse the negative trend. Much more needs to be done, and contribution from other policy areas are needed. Thank you.
Vielen Dank, Herr Kourkoulas. Die Aussprache ist damit geschlossen. Wir kommen zur Erklärung des Rates und der Kommission zu den Beziehungen EU-Schweiz. Ich weise die Mitglieder darauf hin, dass es nach einer Absprache in der Konferenz der Präsidenten bei dieser Aussprache kein Catch-the-Eye-Verfahren gibt und dass keine blauen Karten angenommen werden. Für den Rat spricht zunächst Herr Kourkoulas.
Mr. President, honourable members, the outcome of the Swiss referendum on 9th February on the initiative against mass immigration has created a new situation. Following 3 popular votes in Switzerland in the past 20 years, in which the Swiss people approved free movement of persons with the EU and its respective member states, the outcome of this latest referendum was not favourable to free movement. On this occasion, the Swiss people decided by a very small majority to change their constitution and reintroduce, within 3 years from the date of the referendum, quotas for residence and work permits issued for foreigners including EU nationals. After the adoption of the review, future frontier workers, employed and self-employed persons, as well as their families, will be affected by these measures. Furthermore, the new article of the Swiss Constitution prohibits the conclusion of new agreements and obliges the government to renegotiate international agreements which could be or are contrary to the new provisions. The new provisions are clearly contrary to the EU-Switzerland Agreement of 2002 on the free movement of people, of persons. In order to comply with the new article of its constitution, Switzerland would have to ask for a renegotiation of this agreement in order to allow for the reintroduction of quotas. For us, for the European Union, the free movement of persons is one of the 4 pillars underlying the internal market. These 4 freedoms are indivisible. Switzerland has in the past 20 years sought to participate in an increasing number of areas of the EU's internal market and has expressed the wish to open negotiations in further areas. In the light of this process, Switzerland cannot expect the European Union to simply accommodate its vote against the free movement of persons. There are also further complications. The free movement of persons agreement is linked through a guillotine clause with 6 other important agreements with Switzerland, covering inter alia land transport, air transport, trade in agricultural products and public procurement. If the free movement of persons agreement were to be terminated, the full package would fall. In addition, the agreement is indirectly linked to the association of Switzerland to the Schengen and Dublin acquis, an issue which would also have to be re-examined if the free movement of persons is restricted. There is an additional issue related to the fact that the protocol extending the free movement of persons agreement to Croatia has not yet been signed, and it is difficult to see how Switzerland could sign it in the light of the referendum. While no official notification on the issue has so far been received from the Swiss government, there are signals that a signature can no longer be envisaged. The EU cannot accept discrimination between its member states and will make all effort to avoid such a situation. The EU has linked the participation of Switzerland to the European Union's Erasmus and Horizon 2020 programmes to the participation of Croatia in the Free Movement of Persons Agreement. In the light of the referendum and pending an official notification of Switzerland regarding the signature of the protocol, the Commission has cancelled the next rounds of negotiations. As honourable members are aware, the EU has sought since 2008 to put its overall relations with Switzerland on a new footing. The EU deems that the highly complex system of more than 120 sectorial agreements with Switzerland has reached its limits and needs at least to be complemented by an institutional framework. This Parliament has supported this approach. In your resolution of 24 May 2012, you called for progress in finding solutions to pending institutional issues. Following several years of exploratory talks, the Commission submitted in November 2013 to the Council a draft negotiating mandate on an institutional framework governing EU-Switzerland relations, which was agreed at technical level. The Council is now considering how to take this mandate forward so soon after the Swiss referendum. The Council will closely follow further work in Switzerland regarding the implementation of the outcome of the referendum. Switzerland has informed that it will submit an implementation plan in follow-up of the referendum by June and enact corresponding legislation by the end of the year. We will need time to examine the Swiss plans to implement the referendum and to reflect on further steps on our side. Mr. President, honourable members, let me conclude by summarising the situation. Whilst we respect the decision taken by the Swiss people, our relations with Switzerland have been significantly tested by the outcome of the referendum of 9 February. We welcome the fact that Switzerland has confirmed after the referendum that it will respect its international obligations under the agreement concluded. The EU continues to attach high importance to its long-standing and close relations with Switzerland and stands ready to seek solutions to the current difficult situation. This will take time. However, we have to respect our own principles and cannot give leeway to a pick-and-choose approach to European integration. The free movement of persons and workers must be defended as one of the European Union's fundamental values. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kourkoulas. And on behalf of the European Commission, Mr. Andor.
President, honourable members, let me say also a few words on the recent developments following the Swiss referendum held on February 9. As you know, the free movement agreement between the EU and Switzerland.
Now, Mr. Kourkoulas for the Council.
Thank you, President. Honourable members, as it was just said by the Commission, we have long-standing relations with Switzerland, very close and strong. It is one of our major trading partners. Our economies are closely interlinked, but one has to repeat that the free movement of persons is one of the 4 basic freedoms, is an essential cornerstone of the internal market, and it should be clear that there is no pick and choose approach as regards freedoms. They come as a package and should be upheld by all member states and all partners. We fully respect the decision taken by the Swiss people, but we also expect Switzerland to respect its obligations under international agreements. Let me also, Mr. President, refer to an important issue where the Council is very attentive to the recent attacks and negative press coverage of free movement of persons, which has been fuelled by the result of the vote in Switzerland. We believe that generalizations and stories about benefit tourism or fraudsters are very dangerous to the public perception, especially in the light of rising populism. As politicians, we have a duty to avoid giving to the populist and xenophobic tendencies. Public perception is directly linked to political statements. Allegations should be based on facts and figures and not on perceptions and opinions. Thank you.
Vielen Dank, Herr